Good morning and welcome to the 2020 Annual Delegates Meeting. We're glad you've joined us for this year's virtual meeting. This is not the meeting we envisioned when we began our planning, but we are grateful that we can meet safely. As you can see from the agenda, we have a full day planned. So let's get started with our first presentation. My name is Stephanie White, and this morning we are talking about NYSTRS Year in Review. 2020 has been a challenging year for all of us. The challenges facing our country, our state, and the New York State teachers' retirement system have been greater than at any other period in our lifetimes. In March, NYSTRS moved quickly to implement a response to the COVID-19 pandemic crisis. We knew we had to balance the health and safety of NYSTRS members and staff with the responsibilities we have to fulfill. We are continually updating the information on our website as new information becomes available. And we added a COVID resources section to our homepage to make it easy to find the latest updates. And we included a reminder to our members to stay connected with us by using their MyNYSTRS account. When we began working from home last March, we didn't know what to expect. We didn't know how long our building would be closed, and we didn't know whether working remotely would allow us to get all of our work done. We expected everything to be harder for us to accomplish and take longer than it did when we were working in the building. We knew that pension payments to our retirees, processing loans, and service and disability retirement applications had to be our first priority because our members depend on us for those payments. We all had to adjust to the new situation, but what we found out is that we could do all the work we normally do when we're in the building. The technology we have allows us to do everything we need to do. So not only have we been able to process all the time-sensitive documents we prioritized, we've been able to process the posting of employer reports, prior service claims, transfers, and reinstatements, and we have maintained our normal processing timeframes. Our busiest time of year for retirement applications is always the end of the school year, and this year, we were able to get all of our new retirees on payroll and begin paying their pension payments in July. Speaking of retirees, a lot of people are wondering how much of an increase we've seen in retirements during the pandemic. We didn't see much of an increase for the 2019-2020 school year, but we have seen a significant increase in the number of retirements for the beginning of 2020-2021. So far, we've received approximately 500 more applications this year than our normal average of 800. We don't yet know what to expect for the rest of this school year, but this could be an indication we will see a more significant increase in retirements this year. Our prep seminars are an important resource for members who are planning on retiring. Since large in-person meetings had to be canceled, we decided to record the modules from the day-long seminar and post them on the website. This allows members to have access to the information they need for retirement planning. Now you can download the presentation slides and the prep workbook chapter for each module, then watch the module whenever it's convenient for you. And you can watch the modules more than once if you want to review the information. Individual consultations are another important tool for members to get the information they need for retirement planning. When everything closed down in March, we were no longer able to access the locations around the state for video and in-person consultations. We had appointments scheduled in all those locations, and we knew we had to keep all of those appointments so we could help our members with their retirement planning. The only thing we could do is change all of those appointments to telephone appointments. We were able to have the same conversation we would have had in person and provide members with the estimate of their pension benefit and all of the information they need about the retirement process. From March 18th through the end of October, We provided almost 4,300 consultations and were able to help all of those members with the information they needed to make their decisions about retirement. We are very excited about an upcoming change to our individual consultations, which we are sure will provide better customer service to our NYSTRS members. We're working on video conferencing consultations, allowing members to use their personal electronic devices. This will allow for greater flexibility for our members. They'll be able to use their computer or their laptop, tablet, or their cell phone to access their video conference from any location that's convenient for them. You're going to hear more about this new program in the session following the election. All of the in-person presentations we do at school districts around the state also had to be canceled. We've been able to change those presentations to video conferencing using Microsoft Teams. And just like the changes we've made to individual consultations and prep seminars, we're able to use the technology available to us to continue to provide the information and customer service our members need and expect from us. We're able to offer presentations geared towards new members, members approaching retirement, and retirees. To schedule a presentation, just contact David Costello, 800-348-7298, extension 4763, and let him know what type of presentation your district or group is interested in. And of course, every day we are available to answer members' phone calls and help them with all of their questions. While we've been busy here at the system adjusting to the pandemic, I'm sure you're aware there's been a lot happening at the state level. There have been a number of changes in the laws of New York State this past year, which affect NYSTRS. The Section 212 earnings after retirement limit was increased from $30,000 to $35,000 effective January 1st, 2020. This is the limit of New York State public employment earnings for retired members under the age of 65. There's another new law which expands eligibility for certain state benefits to veterans and LGBT veterans who have a qualifying condition and who received a discharge for other than a dishonorable discharge. Veterans and LGBT veterans with a qualifying condition will be eligible to apply for military service credit on or after November 12, 2020. The Secure Act of 2019 extends the deadline for members who turned age 70 and a half on or after January 1st, 2020 to take their first required minimum distribution. These members now have until April 1st of the year following the year they turned 72 to take their first required minimum distribution. I know that sounds a little complicated, but the effect of this law is to give members who turn age 70 and a half after January 1st an extra year and a half before they have to begin taking their first required minimum distribution. The governor's salary increased to $225,000 effective January 1st, 2020. This is important for our Tier 6 members because the amount of salary they earn, which can be used in calculating their final average salary, is limited to the amount of the governor's salary. Many of our Tier 6 members are in the early parts of their careers, but as the governor's salary continues to increase in future years, this may benefit more of our Tier 6 members. The COVID-19 Public Employee Death Benefit provides for an accidental death benefit for New York State public employees who meet the eligibility requirements. This would apply to any NYSTRS members who reported to work at a place of employment as directed on or after March 1st, 2020, contracted COVID-19 within 45 days, and who die on or before December 31st, 2020, with COVID-19 causing or contributing to their death. This year, there were two executive orders which impacted us here at NYSTRS. First, the governor signed an executive order temporarily suspending the earnings after retirement limitation of $35,000. While this order was intended to help in recruiting retired healthcare workers to assist in this pandemic crisis, it applies to all New York State public retirees. This executive order has been extended, so currently, any earnings in New York State public employment from March 27th through December 3rd, 2020, will not count towards the annual limit of $35,000. Another executive order signed by the governor authorizes the use of electronic notarization of signatures. This order has also been extended through December 3rd. We have been authorized to electronically notarize NYSTRS forms and documents for our members, but we can't e-notarize non-NYSTRS documents. We're glad we can provide this service to our members who can't access a notary public to get a NYSTRS form notarized. It's a very easy process for our members. When they call us to request this service, we set up an appointment and send the member a link to a Microsoft Teams video conference. During the video conference, the member presents a valid photo ID, states they are currently in New York State, and signs the document. On the same day, they are required to fax or email the signed document to the system. We prefer to receive documents by fax because sending an email is not as secure as sending a fax. Most of the members we've e-notarized for have used a fax app on their cell phones to fax the document to us. Once we receive the signed document, the notary affixes their seal and sends the document to the appropriate unit here at the system for processing. Throughout this pandemic, the system has kept the safety and security of our members and staff as our #1 priority. Our Executive Director, Tom Lee, and the Retirement Board will continue to make decisions with the health and safety of NYSTRS members and staff in mind. This image of the Empire State Plaza here in Albany is a tribute to the strength and caring we New Yorkers have shown through this pandemic crisis. Now, I'm sure you recall a few months ago when the pandemic crisis was at its height, how scary the volatility in the financial markets was. The system's investments in the equity portfolio markets did take a hit. The good news is that despite some continued volatility, the markets have rebounded well and made a good recovery. A diversified portfolio and a long-term focus are key factors for the financial security of the NYSTRS pension fund. While the last 8 months have been more exciting than we really wanted them to be, NYSTRS has maintained the financial security of the pension fund through this challenging time. Effective July 1st, 2020, the system's assumed long-term rate of return is set at 7.1%. The key phrase here is long-term. As disciplined long-term investors, we do not overreact to short-term market volatility. Of course, most of us are focused on what's happened in the last year. And when we look at the one-year rate of return on this chart, that is not a number we like to see. But remember, we are not going to react to short-term market volatility. Here at NYSTRS, we're focused on the bottom half of this chart. We invest for the long term, and that is a key factor in maintaining the stability of the pension fund. You can see that 3 out of the 4 longer-term numbers on this chart are well over our 7.1 assumed long-term rate of return. Let's take a look at the growth of NYSTRS assets over the last 5 years. This past year, we did take a hit from the shutdown of the economy during the pandemic crisis. But even with the decrease this year, over the last 5 years, the value of the pension fund has increased by $13 billion. These market value figures are all net values, the amount after we have made all the benefit payments for the year. This past year, we paid out over $7 billion in benefit payments. The value as of June 30th, 2020 of $120.5 billion is that net value of our assets after we paid out all of those benefit payments for the 2019-2020 fiscal year. You can see in the bottom part of this chart, over this 5-year period, we collected $9.5 billion from employer and member contributions. However, benefits payments and expenses totaled $35.9 billion. You might be asking, how do we manage the investing of the pension fund so that we can continue to pay out more than we collect from our participating employers and members? The most significant tool we use in managing the pension fund's long-term investment performance is asset allocation. The investment of the fund is diversified over many different asset classes. And in this chart, you can see the different classes and the percentage of the pension fund invested in each asset class. NYSTRS Retirement Board reviews the asset allocation policy on an annual basis. The allocation process allows us to achieve the highest possible returns while controlling the level of risk, and it results in the lowest possible costs to employers and New York State taxpayers. Here are some statistics that help explain why we have to maintain our long-term focus. It's good news for teachers. They live longer than the average American. And since we pay members' pensions for their entire lifetimes, we have to make sure we're able to do that. The Society of Actuaries shows that female educators who reach age 65 are expected to live until almost age 90, and male educators reaching age 65 are expected to live until almost age 88. Here at NYSTRS, we have 6,803 retired members age 90 or older, and 195 of those members are age 100 or older. We begin saving the funds we need to pay a member's pension when they begin their career. The average annual pension is $48,273. The average number of years of service earned during a member's career is 26 years, and the average number of years the member spends in retirement is 28 years. For the member receiving that average payment, we expect to pay them a total of over $1.3 million during the course of their retirement. We don't have to have all of that money saved by the time the member retires. We'll have had an average of 26 years to start accumulating funds, and then we'll have had an average of 28 years during the member's retirement to continue accumulating funds. We add the 26 years to the 28 years to determine the investment horizon. The investment horizon of 54 years is the total number of years we have to accumulate the funds to pay the pension for the member's lifetime. The breakdown of our income sources over the last 30 years shows that 2% came from member contributions, 14% came from employer contributions, and 84% of the system's income has come from net investment income. That is a clear indication of the long-term success of the investment of the pension fund. But what do these percentages mean? Let's look at dollar amounts. Over the last 30 years, the system collected 2% of our total income from member contributions. That's $4.5 billion. We collected 14% of our total income from employer contributions. That's $30 billion. And the 84% of total income from net investment income is $187.8 billion. It's these huge numbers that have allowed us to do two incredibly important things. The first is to meet our obligation to pay benefits payments and expenses, which totaled $126.8 billion. And the second is to grow the market value of NYSTRS assets from $25 billion in 1990 to $120.5 billion in 2020. We talked about this a few slides back, but I want to remind you the market value of assets figures are net figures calculated after we have paid out the benefit payments and expenses for each year. It's the investment returns generated by our long-term investment focus and asset allocation which has made this possible. I've been talking a lot about the value of NYSTRS assets, and these are huge numbers, so large that I can hardly wrap my brain around them. But what do these numbers mean for all of our members who are depending on us to pay their pensions? How do we know we have enough money? Actuaries look at the value of the assets we have in place now compared to what we expect to pay out in the future to determine the funded ratio of the system. There are two commonly used methods of determining how well funded the system is. The actuarial value of assets uses an average or smoothed investment return, and NYSTRS uses a 5-year smoothing calculation. As of June 30th, 2020, the calculation shows we are 98.9% funded. The market value of assets is a snapshot of the value of NYSTRS assets as of June 30th, 2020, which results in a calculation showing we are 97.3% funded. These funded ratio calculations indicate that even with the volatility this past year, we remain a healthy, well-funded pension fund. The 5-year smoothing model of the actuarial value of assets calculation ties into the calculation of the employer contribution rate. The smoothing model is less reactive to market volatility and helps to prevent spikes and drops in the employer contribution rate. The current rate for the 2020-2021 school year is 9.53% of pay. That percentage is applied to the total payroll for the school district. What does that figure look like for next year? The estimated employer contribution rate for the 2021-2022 school year is between 9.5 and 10% of pay. Here's where that long-term focus helps all of us New York State taxpayers. The employer contribution rate is going to go up a little bit, but there won't be a huge spike. Our mission is to provide our members with a secure pension. I'm proud of the job the retirement system is doing and the manner in which we manage our fiduciary responsibility. Our vision is to be the model for pension fund excellence and exceptional customer service. We work very hard at continually improving our customer service, and we ask our members to tell us how we're doing and how we can improve. Feedback from our members is a key factor in how we determine the best ways for us to provide better services for our members. I think you're all aware how important it is for our members to be able to access their personal information in their MyNYSTRS account. We are always looking for ways to add to the self-service features we have programmed into the MyNYSTRS area of our website. This year, we're excited to add a new self-service feature to our members' MyNYSTRS accounts. When a member is applying for a loan, the lender requires proof of an active NYSTRS member's contributions balance or a retired member's pension income. Members need this verification as soon as possible, and often we can't get it to them fast enough to meet the lender's deadline. Now, when an active member logs into their MyNYSTRS account, they will find the Verification of Contributions link under the My Retirement tab. When they select the Verification of Contributions link on the drop-down menu, all of the information that will print out on the letter is displayed. Right above the text is the link for the member to access the printable version of the Verification of Contributions letter. The lender requires the verification on our letterhead, so this printable version prints out with the NYSTRS letterhead. The letter includes the current amount of the member's contributions, and if the member has a loan with NYSTRS, the letter confirms all the information about the loan, including the current loan balance. For retirees, it's the same path to access the income verification letter, which is commonly referred to as an award letter. A retired member can log into their MyNYSTRS account, and they will find the income verification link under the My Retirement tab. When they select the income verification link on the drop-down menu, all of the information about their monthly pension benefit is displayed, And again, right above the text is the link for the member to access the printable version of the letter. Just like the letter for active members, the retiree's income verification letter prints out on NYSTRS letterhead. It shows the gross monthly pension benefit, all deductions, and the net monthly pension benefit. The letter also verifies that the member will receive their pension for their entire lifetime. Our members are very happy to be able to access the verification they need so quickly and easily. We ask for feedback from our active and retired members on all of the services we provide. The surveys we completed by members attending individual consultations indicated 96% were very likely to recommend and 3% were likely to recommend an individual consultation to their colleagues. And our after-call survey results show that 96% of members who called the system with their questions were satisfied with the result of their telephone call. We ask all attendees of the prep seminars to complete a survey. This year, we have results for the fall 2019 and partial winter-spring 2020 sessions. 97% of respondents indicated that they are very likely to recommend a prep seminar to others. This summer, we held 2 live Microsoft Teams meetings, which included a moderated question and answer panel. These presentations were geared towards members nearing retirement. In total, nearly 1,200 members participated in our live Teams events, and our moderators responded to over 350 questions. Survey respondents gave us a 98% favorable rating with scores of either excellent or good. We participate in the annual Cobalt survey, which asks recent retirees about their experience. The average organization score on the American Customer Satisfaction Index was 74 out of 100. NYSTRS earned a 94 rating, and our Net Promoter Score placed us in the 100th percentile of organizations in related financial industries. At last year's delegates meeting, you rated us between 96 and 100% in every category. Thank you very much for that positive feedback. Of course, we want your feedback again this year, and we'll be emailing the survey to you. On the survey, we want to know what you think about the sessions and presenters. We'll also have some questions about your experience using WebEx to connect to this year's virtual annual delegates meeting. We're always looking for ways to improve, and we want to make sure we're providing the best possible experience for you. Thank you for joining me for this review of the past year here at NYSTRS. Following this presentation, please join us at 9:50 a.m. for the Delegate Board Staff discussion. The NYSTRS Retirement Board and staff will be answering the questions you submitted in advance of this morning's session. We hope you have a great rest of your day here at the 2020 Annual Delegates Meeting.